Championship Monday, man. Go Lakers, go Lakers, go Lakers, go Lakers, man. What you know about it, man? Crown that man, crown them guys, crown that dude, get that man his respect. But the Lakers put it down. So we wanted to say congratulations to the Los Angeles Lakers for that championship, 17th to be exact. We are live in the city of Los Angeles, just to let you know. We are in that building. So whenever that parade pops, man, hopefully we can bring that to you. One of the things that I did want to do is share this really quick. So if you guys can allow me to do that, the reason being is, man, because it lets people know what we got cracking, lets people know when we started, so forth and so on. So if you could just give me 1 second, I can just let my people know that I'm in the building, that we're starting right now, because we got some good stuff, man. So let me share that. See, tap in, and then we're done, man. So, man, this last week, man, it's been super exciting. Let me tell you why, man, because we got knocked down 3 episodes, man. We put 3 episodes out into the universe, man. First, we talked to my boy Dijon Hyder, who gave us a lot of insight on his hustle from being an athlete. Then we stepped in talking to KJ Cash, who talks about the entertainment side of things, from him, getting his way into the entertainment industry. So he goes and spits game on that, talking about etiquette, how that got him to a certain place. Then we finished up with Big Y, OG Big Y from Inglewood, believe Crenshaw Mafia, but one of the originators of Banging on Wax. It was lit. So we had a really good time with that. And so I dropped 3 episodes, man, and I'm about to bring some more to you guys. Just a matter of time. I'm reaching out to guys. I'm getting people more involved, asking interesting questions. So I'm trying to deliver it, man. So one of the things that was a key part of that, all 3 of those conversations, was the pivotal moment. And when I mean the pivotal moment is the pivotal moment when you say, you know what, I've had enough, when I'm about to pivot, right? And when you pivot, anybody remembers from basketball, it's just moving that, not your planted leg, but the other leg, and you can marinate, or like a pivot. What are those things called? A pivot, like a pivot table or whatever. Not the pivot table, but protractor. Similar to that, where you can spin it around, right? I hope I'm saying that protractor right. But anywho, it's nonetheless, yeah. So when you pivot, right? And we talked about that pivotal moment when Big Y talked about his pivotal moment was when he started realizing that he was better at rapping than gang banging, right? But he also talked about when he first started running and how he started running for the Jamaicans. So it was interesting, but his pivotal moment was when he started realizing that he was good at rap. A lot of times, God wakes us up in sometimes the weirdest places, or at the weirdest times, or at least times we're not expecting, and we turn it around. And it's at that time that we usually make our way towards success, towards being legit. I'm speaking for mine. I remember I was in school. I was going to Cal State San Bernardino. I already had a plan. I had a plan what I was doing. I was going to Cal State San Bernardino. I came home, and when I was in there, I had this plan on where I was writing everything down. I was speaking on, okay, I'm gonna get 4.5. When I flip that 4.5, then I'm gonna do this. And when I get that, I'm gonna do this. And I had it all on math. And when you come home, it's nothing anywhere like that, right? The homie describes it kind of like a merry-go-round. Or a merry-go-round. Have you ever tried to get on a merry-go-round when you're going full speed? When you're going full speed trying to get on a merry-go-round, and that's like the game. And a lot of people don't understand that game is moving 100 miles an hour. And anytime it takes you out the game, you go sit down and got to do some time. You go, whatever the case may be, right? You try to get back on that merry-go-round. You got to be running super fast. And if you're not running super fast, then you're going to get dealt with. And a lot of times it doesn't feel good, right? You're trying to hop on there, the poles get you, somebody else get you, whatever the case. And that's what happened with me. I got out, and I kept trying to figure out, how can I get on this merry-go-round that hasn't slowed down any, right? Cats that are in better positions than I was, all these things. I can't compete. Only way I can compete is if I get more and more involved, if I go just dig a little bit deeper, right? And when I start looking at that, I'm like, man, it's almost like basketball, or football. Like, man, do I feel like going through this again? Do I feel like going through this roller coaster again? Do I feel like calling this dude, getting this work again? taking his chance. I gotta cook, I gotta cut it up, I gotta bag it, I gotta call all these dudes back, I gotta deal with this new cat that's coming to town. Do I feel like going through this rat race all over again? You know, and that's what it came down to for me. I'm like, man, I'm tired of this. I've been doing this since I was 12 years old. Like, you know what I'm saying? And you start thinking about them kind of years that you put into the game. Like, man, enough is enough. I can't give you any more because I don't have any more. I'm done. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of times that's why I don't mind chilling now when cats look at me like, man, you in your early 40s, you already chilling? Man, I've been chilling since my 30s, homie. You got to realize I've been working since I was 12. Started out with a paper route and ended up coming with a $50 double up. Period. And that's how the game began. And a lot of people don't understand that. You know, I tried to be legitimate. But when you start to pivot, man, it's not easy, right? There's so many things that actually push you back. When we talk about KJ, right? He was like, I think he had went to jail or something like that. And he was like, man, you know what I'm saying? The judge gives you opportunity. His mom moved out here. You know, things happen. My mom moved to Arizona when I was like 14. I was hot, steamed, right? But she saw something obviously in San Diego, like, man, we out of here. I wasn't with it. All my homeboys was there. Everything was popping in San Diego. Granted, I lasted in Arizona about a year and a half. I wasn't there 2 years. But then, you know, I met some solid cats, lifelong blood partners, family, kinfolk, as they say out there. So it wasn't by mistake. It just wasn't what I had planned. So a lot of times you can do the voluntary pivot, or sometimes life will pivot that ass anyways, where you have literally no control over it. In my instance, where you go to the pen, where a lot of homies go to the pen, and you just be happy to come home to your lowrider, your car, your D's, whatever, because you know Cass is getting himself sold to stay, you know, so pivot's okay. You know what I'm saying? But you just gotta so yeah, man. So I think, you know, the main thing is understanding that when you pivot, you know, there's going to be a lot of things against you. This is the one thing I tell cats all the time, homie. You're in a spiritual warfare, dog. No more, no less. Don't get it twisted. It's good and evil. Like back in the Family Matters, where the Urkel, the good Urkel, the bad Urkel on the shoulders, it's good and evil, dog. That's it. You know what I'm saying? So you either working for him or you working against him, right? But that's pretty much it. And when you start to make that transition towards a righteous lifestyle, a better lifestyle, something that's going to give you some get back, or something that where you can start to create a family legacy, you're going to get the fight of a lifetime, dog. You're going to get everything going against you, thrown against you. It's going to be so challenging, right? You're going to be like, man, the world is against me. Not the world, technically, but it's that other fool. And when you start to see that, man, you'll start to see your challenge. You're like, man, damn, it wasn't this hard when I was doing what, yeah, because God was low-key looking out for you. You know what I'm saying? Because he knew he had something better for you. And I tell my son that stuff all the time. I'm like, got something better for you. All of us, everybody in the game, he got something better for you. I don't care how good it is, how good you think it is. He got something better for you. And it's hard for us to really gravitate towards that because we've been let down so many times, especially in that game. That game was a disappointing ass nigga. Excuse my French, but it is. That cat, right when you up, ticket goes up. Right when you, I can name every little nook and cranny in that game. It ain't no joke. And anybody who's glorifying that, man, don't tell no lies on me. If you was really getting down, tell the truth. Droughts, people playing with you, plug hating on you. I can go on and on with real life examples. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes God will make you pivot. He's going to throw you the pass, right? And if I'm going to keep using a basketball analogy, but he's going to make you get in position. And if you ain't going to get in position, you can't score, dog, period. You got to put yourself in the right position to receive certain things. I used to tell my mom all the time when she used to ride with me, she used to have her hands full all the time with a bag, a laptop. And I'm like, Mom, how can I give you anything when you got everything already in your hand? And that's the thing we got to start looking at. If we got our hands full with all this other bullshit or this other whack stuff, right, we can't receive this other good. So we got to start maneuvering and getting away from that, homie. And that's where that pivot comes in. It's that pivotal time in life where you have to make that critical change, where you have to say enough is enough, right? And a lot of times, the part that makes cats really uncomfortable, let's talk about the cats who don't have any get back, meaning they got that L, right? They wish they could make a pivot. They make a pivot anyway, right? Just hoping and praying that somebody, you know what I'm saying, possibly gives them some type of action. So they already make the change, but it's all about intent. Everything's based on intent. And a lot of people don't realize the law's based on intent. So are pretty much your life results are based on intent. Not what you actually did, but what did you intend on doing? A lot of people miss that part. Intention is everything. What were you intended on doing? Whether somebody found out or not, whether somebody exposed you or not, what was your intention, right? So when you talk about the game, our intention wasn't to get over on people. We were selling a product. So our intention wasn't messed up. We weren't robbing anybody. That intent means I'm going to go take it from somebody. We were just like, shit, we can't get a job. I know in San Diego, it was like a work permit. Where's that at? Where do you start at? And you couldn't get one. So we was like, man, I remember me and the homie Harvey, we was making fake double ups. That was crazy. But we're doing whatever we can to start the hustle, right? He'll tell you the story. Crazy, man, homie. But you know what I'm saying? You got to start looking at things from a longevity standpoint. How long can I possibly do this? One of the things that I measured out, and I'm pretty sure a lot of homies too, and I'll talk about Dijon and Big Y as well. But one of the things I measured out, when I started looking at the best of the best and they still got cracked, I started looking at the cats who had everything, quote unquote, locked in and they still got cracked. Like, man, this is a losing situation. You got 24-hour shifts and I got to I'm going to bed for 8 hours and I got 1.5 partners. You know what I'm saying? And a bunch of pistols. That's not going to help stop the police from coming and everybody. So it was just jacked up. And then I started realizing my brother had given me a lot of confidence. He had told me one day, man, you smart as the rest of these cats that are in my class. And I was like, oh, yeah, whatever. And I started going and I went and took an assessment test and I started with the basics, man. I had to really humble myself. And when you're making that transition in life, you got to humble yourself, dog, because you're going to start. I've been on food stamps. I've been in the county building. I could preach about starting over and not trying to get back in that game, as tempting as it is. I know how to cook. So it's even more tempting. You like, man, I can get extras right now. The worst case scenario, I can really make it crack. But that temptation, you also know where you can go. You also been on that bus ride chained up with 2 other cats and some peanut butter fucking sandwiches. You know what I'm saying? So you've been there too. So you can see, oh yeah, especially when you see cats hitting corners and being glamorous on you. You're like, man, I know how this story ends. You know what I'm saying? And it doesn't end pretty. And that's just one of the things. And the older you get and the more people you have that relying on you, that relying on your existence, that are relying on you to stay in the game, or relying on you to keep a job, relying on you to keep income. You start looking at that and doing the math. Is this really worth it? Is this all I know how to do? And if that's the case, how do I go learn to do something else? You got to humble yourself. Like I said, I started off with English 50 and math 50. That's like basic level English and math. Started right there, right where I was. You know what I'm saying? And pushed the line. Next thing I know, I took algebra. Next thing I know, I was in statistics. Next thing I know, I was in Spanish class. Next thing I know, I was in management. Next thing I know, I was in accounting. And I'm like, damn, how did I end up here? English 50 and math 50. Some basic stuff. Then next thing you know, here I am teaching retail classes and consumer behavior classes, all because I didn't stop climbing. And this is the thing. When you pivot, you might have to start walking up some steps, man, some uncomfortable ass steps, some awkward steps, some humbling steps, right? You know them mountains that humble cats who think that they savages. This might be one of those mountains that you have to climb. But it is so much worth it once you get up to the plateau or once you get up to the peak, right? You could see the views, you could see where you've come from. And that's the beautiful part. Because once you then learn how to tell your story, understand that part. Once you then learn how to tell your story, then you could start to build, right? You could start to build your brand. You could start to expand on that. You could start to develop content. You could start to develop merchandise, right? Because all these stories that you hear, E.T. the Hip Hop Preach, all these other cats, they just started with a story. They just started with telling what happened. This is what happened, man. I had to sleep in my car. He might have slept in his car for like 2 nights. You don't know, but he learned how to tell the story. I don't know. I ain't hating on E.T. That's not what I'm doing, but I'm just saying. You don't know, right? And you got to learn how to position your story. My story is drug dealers to businessmen, hands down, period. Right? Nothing else. That's it. That's pretty much it in a nutshell, and that's my brand. And when I say businessman, that goes on. I'm an educator, and I do other stuff as well. But I had to make that pivot, and it was uncomfortable. I remember I was talking to somebody the other day. I remember child support taking my financial aid when I was in college, my undergraduate, snatching it as soon as I get it. I'm like, perfect. Financial aid kicked in, and I got my son. Boop. Took it and gave me a $75 fee. Right? I remember getting my car repoed 3 or 4 times. Man, don't tell me about struggle. Buses, catching a bus. I can go on and on and on. During this pivot and all this time, I know how to cook. I know the plug is still around, right? All this stuff, all this time, it's still like you can make this happen. I'm like, man, but you're so nervous and you're like, man, I know that this time of all the times, this would be the one that I'm like, I'll really regret. And for you to stay the course and you to stay disciplined is a whole nother level, right? Because especially when you still are connected, you still see homies as hitting corners, still see homies as getting it out there. You like, man. And like I said, when you got the skill set, it's just like, and I imagine the same thing holds true for people that are in other levels of crime. You see a lick. Oh, I see a lick, man. You can't. Sometimes the temptation is hard, and that's where you got to go and you got to dig deep, right? And you got to understand. Back to my original statement: good and evil, because that's what it is, and it's all based on your intent. And God always gives you a choice. You always have a choice. Make the right one, as hard as it is. We've been consistently making the wrong one. Did you see where it got us? Right? But I'll take this. I won't say that in vain. I'll say they got us to be risk takers, because now we can take that same skill set, because you always hear me talking about converting street skills to millions. That's one of them. Being a risk taker. All millionaires, all billion, all that risk, they took a risk somewhere. We was cold enough that we was taking risks in when we was 10, 12 years old. We was shooting the dice, literally and figuratively, right? We was in dice games, but we was also shooting the dice of life. We was taking chances. We was hitting corners. We was on that highway. We was taking the work. We was doing all that, right? But we had to stop at some point in time and realize that we can use those same risk-taking skill sets into other things, right? You'll see a meme going around right now about the guy with the hot dog stand, right? He talked about how they offered him a job. Let me see if I can pull it up. But they offered him a job, and let me share this. I'm just pulling it up right now so you guys can see it. It's pretty dope. One of my shares was Victoria. I wanted to show you guys, just in case you guys haven't seen the meme. She shared it. I thought she shared it. Let's see. No, it was somewhere. Let me see hot dog stand meme. Let me see if I can pull it up. Dog stand meme. Let's see. No, I can't find it, man. I ain't gonna hold you guys up with that. But what it was basically it was a guy with a hot dog stand who basically said he was offered $400 or $500, $300 a week from some job, but he took that same money that he was gonna make. Oh, is it change? Okay, all right, for sure. Put that right there. Change the game. Make the pivot. There we go. All right, Reggie, I see you. But yeah, so basically what he was saying was he took that same money, went and bought a hot dog stand, and then bought some hot dogs at Sam's Club, some barbecue sauce, and he's making his bread. And he's taking his destiny in his own hands. And that's one of the things that we have been prone and known to do, is take our destiny in our own hands. I waited for anybody to give us a job. We're not waiting for anybody to give us permission, right? We got enough of that, especially when we was behind, where, right? We heard enough of those permissions. So now we need to take destiny in our own hands, but we have to do it methodically, right? We can't just go out there and just jump, right? You have to jump. Don't get me wrong. Let me backtrack that. You need to make the jump, but at the same time, you got to be strategic in a certain areas, right? So that you don't put yourself out there to fail, because that's not what we're up to. We're not interested in failure. We're interested in success, or the highest form of it if we can get it. And if we don't get it, we're diligent enough to keep trying. We stick with it, right? As Angela Duckworth talks about grit, right? Sticking with something. When you graduate from college, they really don't give a what about what your major is. They just care that you can stick with something for 4 years. That's why it's so important for you guys to commit to certain things, right? To commit. I tell my son all the time, commit to something, learn something, dog. You have to commit to something, right? And see it through, which we don't do. We don't do that with marriage. And that was another thing that was so critical about both, not Dijon and KJ, and also Big Y talked about too, family, dog, and how important and foundational it is for our families, right? And why we actually doing this. When we first started hustling was for our families. Now, when we getting out the game, for our families, right? We make these moves for our families. We trying to leave a legacy for our families. We build these business for our families. And we want to leave them to our kids. We don't want our kids to be that worst version of us. We want them to be that best version of us, right? So we have to make that change. I remember hitting corners, and my son, I had a little white car that I used to drive around. I kept a 380 right between. And I remember it was between his baby seat. And that's how ass backwards I was in thinking and putting things in danger, right? We're not even thinking like that. And that's how young, that's why I'll tell cats, I'm like, man, you're going to have kids, man, wait a little while. Wait till you get good at life a little bit, right? Like my older partner used to say, live life a little bit, little homie, so that right? So that you go through some stuff, so that you can be seasoned, so that you can give that sage type of advice. You feel what I'm saying? And a lot of people don't. I think we're not patient enough with ourselves, and more importantly, relationships, man. Our women teach us so much about balance, teach us so much about organization. There's a lot to be involved in a partnership that we neglect, right? We put too much on the fact that we pimps, right? That we players, right? And we don't put enough enough focus on being that married man, right? And being settled down, right? We all have desires. I understand everybody has their desires, but at the same time, respect one another. And it teaches you, if you can show respect from one person, then in the world, you can start to show that as well. So this not only making a pivot in business or in the streets, but making a pivot in terms of relationships. Because when we get behind that wall, we the most romantic niggas in the world, right? Oh my God. We writing, we poetic, we talk about intimate things, and right, and then we get out and we want to dog them out, hit corners, and spend time over the homie's house. That's one thing I never did, was spend time over the homie's house. That's what I ain't gonna do. You know what I mean? Nah, dog. I always have my own path. But that's, some cats rock like that. And we neglect them, man, and not realizing, man, that's our balance, man. You got a partner that you can be intimate with, that you can split bills with. Like, it doesn't get better than that, homie. So don't put that down, man. A lot of homies trip and not really put a lot of value on that. You know what I'm saying? That one, especially if she held you down while you was down. You tripping. But before I wrap up, man, I wanted to show you guys a couple of things, man. This is a new widget. Let me see if they'll let me show it. Let's see. See if it's on the screen. Oh, there we go. Let's see. I know a few of you guys got these, but we got these out. I'm just trying this out. I ain't trying to sell you guys nothing, but we got these out all sizes, man. Tap in on drugdealerstobusinessmen.com. Let's see what else we got. Let's see. Official mugs. Show you guys that too. And then I also got a book suggestion for you guys, man. So check this out, $27.99 for the month. I know it's a little expensive, but man, these is custom, man. And simple fact is that they contribute to us putting on more content. Man, this takes a lot of work, man, but I don't mind investing in you guys. Oh, one of the things I'll suggest too, invest in some T-edgers, homie. See this lineup, homie? Yeah, man. Took me 10 minutes before this thing started, man. Barbers, you gotta make appointments now on apps. Go get you some T-edgers, dog. Make that crack, man. Shout out to my barbers, though. I ain't hating on you, Casper, man. Ain't nobody got time for that, homie. Real walkie-talkie. But one of the other things that I wanted to show you guys, so you guys can check that out. We got those available on drugdealersbusinessmen.com, drugdealersbusinessmenpodcast.com. And then our book suggestion. Let me pull it up. Yeah, let me. And it is a really, really good book. Let me show you guys. Let me show you guys. And I've talked about this cat in the past. Let me pull it up on Amazon. So, oh, they just don't believe it, Amazon over here, huh? Let's see, Amazon. Just trying to show this with you guys so you guys can see this. Really good book on persuasion. And one of the reasons why I suggested, because it talks about priming, right? So when you talk about persuasion, it's before you actually get to the ask, right? So a lot of prep work, right? A lot of suggestions, a lot of certain questions that you're asking that are priming someone for to be persuaded. So this is important for those who are looking to try to move people from one thing to another. This gentleman also is Dr. Chadani. I know I'm murking his name, but for my AZ folks, he's an ASU professor, so he's there in Phoenix. But writes some really, really amazing books, and these I just grabbed it. I just grabbed it on Audible, so you guys can see this. So you can see right here, 946, 4.5 stars. So it's right up there. Amazing book, man. Really, really highly suggested. And like I said, I'm listening to it right now. There's a couple other ones that I'm going to grab as well. Let's see, Pivot Your Mindset. Let's see, Mugs. Yep. Appreciate it, you guys, man. You know, I appreciate that, man. But yeah, you got to pivot though, dog. You have to. You can't stay in the same situation unless you are comfortable, and comfort is the closest thing I would say probably to you know what. So I'll leave it there. But I also talked to you guys about that tribe I talked about who uplifts themselves every so many years because a utopian lifestyle is not a lifestyle that they were interested in. So we look for all these things to get us to retire. We look for all these things to get us to that destination or that position. But we forget that the gift is really in the journey, man. It is so much in the journey. And you guys got to realize that even when you make a purchase, it's not so much of the purchase. It was what it took to get there. It's the hunt. It's the search. It's the energy that you put towards that. It's all that, right? It's so much more than the actual goal, but it's what you took, who you became as you were trying to reach that goal, who you turned into, right? Who helped you, who didn't. You found out who was on your side, who wasn't when you turned it around. When I talk about the other book I talk about a lot is The Dream Giver. And The Dream Giver talks about when you leave people, or you leave, in this particular case, it talks about a town called Familiar. But when you change, when you pivot, it forces other people to pivot and move as well. And everybody's not okay with making a move or changing. So just FYI on that. Just understand that you will get resistance, right? You will get resistance, but the power that you have innate, that you have inside of you, will always overcome and overpower any of that. Just remember that, right? Just remember, man, who's on your side. It's good and evil. It's really that simple. Don't trip. Don't make it complicated. Make it really decision based. What's my intent? Is it foul? Am I getting over? Right? Or am I showing love? It's that simple. Am I getting over or am I showing love? So make sure that you're showing love and not getting over, and your intent is clear and pure. And I'll see you guys next week. Thank you guys for joining me. Make sure you guys check it out. the merchandise, and also the new 3 episodes. We're on iTunes, we're on Stitcher, we're on iHeart, we're on Spotify. Leave us a review, man. We need those reviews, man. They help us rank. So make sure you guys tap in. If you haven't left a review, do so. If you have, we appreciate you. Go get that T liner and this. Peace.